are you recording?
I am recording.
Kim, you are recording. All right. Thank you all. I'd like to call the June meeting of the Permanent Building Committee to order for the purpose of reviewing the Department of Public Works project. We have Robert Taylor from Taylor and Burns Architects, who is going to give us an update on the 100% drawings and specifications and timeline. And I think it's up to this committee then to make a decision as to proceed on that basis. The next steps would be to send the documents out for peer review to Compass Project Management and to begin the permitting process, hopefully on a fast track with the planning board and get ourselves a building permit. So that being the case, Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Wayne and committee. I thought it might be good here to take a look at the, whoops, what happened? Here we go. Take a look at the schedule, but now I cannot do screen sharing. Kimberly, can you help me with that?
Why don't you try it now, Robert? Hopefully I fixed that.
Oh boy. Where are we? I have too many. One sec.
It says all participants should be able to share, so hopefully.
Yeah.
Kim, did John Larkin get on?
No, it said, no, it says he's trying to join. I can see that he's trying to join, but he's not here yet.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why. I've admitted him into the meeting, and I don't know. Seems like he might be having trouble with his computer.
Okay.
Can everybody see the schedule?
Yep.
Screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tonight, here we are in the middle of June. We have completed the drawings and specifications to 100%. They are ready for peer review. I'm not sure how long Compass will take, but I blocked out 3 weeks. And the blue line here kind of shows the critical path of activity to get to the end of this project. So once peer review is complete, I think that you can go straight to advertising and bidding and awarding of contract down here, which hopefully should get us a contractor by Labor Day. Maybe this can be squeezed. I'm not sure if Compass can go faster or if advertising and bidding can go faster. Those would be advantageous, both. While that is happening, phase 1 site work is happening. That's right here on the screen, which is work underway by the DPW for those parts of the project that can be self-performed. At the end of that, there will need to be a survey to show the contractors basically what the lay of the land is in terms of topography. And having said all that, somewhere around Labor Day then, with a contractor in hand, that is the point when you can get a building permit. When you can't get a building permit without a licensed contractor. They have to submit the permit.
How do I, Robert, how do I begin my wetlands protection, set up all my socks and keep all that work protected without and getting an approval for that without a building permit?
Who is going to, well, that's not building construction, that's flat work. So that would be regulated, I believe, by your Conservation Commission, since where your site is.
All right, and
It's not regulated by the building department.
So Camille's ready, she's ready to, they're ready to release that, but they're still waiting for a set of stamped engineered plans that she has not received yet. And I know that she's been asking Emmanuel, as of yesterday, where are they, so she can, give the conditions out, so it can be released.
Okay.
So we can start installing the, per the plans.
I will follow up with Emmanuel and find out what more he needs to do to, as far as I know, he's done. He's completely done. We went back and forth over a few of those phasing items, and he modified his drawings accordingly. So that what goes before the Conservation Commission or this Planning Review Board will be consistent with what we've talked about in terms of phasing. So that's not building department stuff. You could get going with that right away.
okay, well then, Jim, McKay, let's talk about that then. Get the Conservation Commission okay with that. And if
Yep.
that's just Emmanuel's next step here, then let's make sure that that happens. And because I think Dave, your point is Dave Ramachi is ready to go, right?
Yep, Dave's on, yep. He's ready to go. He's already started. Yeah, well, he hasn't started on anything that would cause a problem with conservation, but yes, he is.
All right. So let me just digress or go just a little bit further. If we're able to do some of that work now, we talked about temporary help in the summer, college students or high school students or whatever.
Correct.
Again, that was determined by timing. If we're doing some of that work now, do you foresee a need to do that or not?
Yes, actually, we've had 2 applications, and I was going to request that we hire at least one of them starting July 1st, if that was acceptable.
As long as you meet all the town requirements and submit the bills as part of the project to Kim for reimbursement, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and do that as a cost to mitigate other costs that would be otherwise incurred by the project.
So that would be, it would be minimum wage, and it would be probably for the 2 months. And we have 2 good applicants. I mean, we'll pay one out of the budget and one out of the out of this project and one out of the DPW budget.
Okay, all right, then we'll get started with that. All right, Robert?
Yes.
Back to you.
Okay, so we left off right at this juncture of the schedule, beginning of phase 2 site work and also the beginning of construction by the general contractor. This is my best educated guess about how much time this will take. I think it's about a 9-month project, and I'm assuming it can break down roughly into thirds. 1/3 would be foundations and utilities, basically in the dirt, up until, well, beginning in September and running through November, maybe continuing on through December. But they'll be able to start with structure and building envelope around the beginning of December. That would run for about 3 months as well, through February, at which point they could close it in, use temporary heat, and start doing interior work and MEP work. That would run through the end of May 2021, just about 1 year from now. And there'd be a period of punching out, closing out the project, and then it gets turned over back to DPW for phase 3 of site work. That's the final yellow bar at the bottom of the schedule. Also, at the very bottom of the schedule, I'm figuring that we would continue with this committee doing monthly check-ins during the progress of construction. That would be overlaid by weekly construction meetings during the 9-month period. I think weekly, maybe bi-weekly, but that would be worked out with the general contractor and whoever is the project manager for the town at the time. It may be that we start out bi-weekly and convert to weekly when things really get going and slow down again.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's the overall view of where we are. At this, we're here at this point tonight, and we're really ready to just start rolling through all of these wickets and get through a project that is about 1 year's duration from where we are today.
All right. Well, the most encouraging news for me is, looking at the price tag again, and seeing that it came in right at $3 million. That gives me some comfort level that we've got a good budget that we can proceed. Now, obviously, that'll still depend on what how the bids come in, but it sounds like we've got a manageable project that we can pull the trigger on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right. Now, what's the rest of the committee feel about that?
Wayne, do you know what percentage we have built in for construction contingency at this point?
Well,
Or is that separate from the 3 million?
so it's pretty easy. We got 3.9. We got 3.9 million, Pat. We've got up to $470,000 in design fee, and then the rest is self-performed work and contingency.
Okay.
So you take the 3.9, $470,000 from that gives you 3.4. We've got about $400,000, give or take, in self-performing and contingency.
What do we think the self-perform is worth? Jim? Is that $100,000 or?
No, the one major piece is we've got to sub out the final paving, Pat.
Yeah.
What do you think that's going to be, Jim?
So we just received bids back and they were consistent with last year. It's $110 for super pave, straight across the board. All binder was almost the same. So it's still $110 a ton. I still think that's better than probably what we could have got if it went through this project cost. Yeah, I mean that, we can't use that bid for this year, for the paving for next year, but it's still consistent with last year's.
All right. Jim McCaffrey, is there a warrant article for town meeting relating to the $135,000 of previously approved DPW project?
Yes. Yes, there is.
All right, so
And it's the warrant. It's in the warrant. It was voted positively by the board, and the FinCom voted to support it at its last meeting. So
excellent.
we'll go into the town meeting with the support of the Finance Committee.
Excellent. So back to your question, Pat. So that's another $135,000 into the self-perform and contingency category.
So have we put I guess, and maybe it's too early, but maybe it's time now to do this though. It sounds like we should probably assemble a project budget. So maybe we got to put a number to the self-perform work and the paving too, just so we can kind of know where we stand on contingency.
I agree with that. Dave, what do you think your ability is to monetize that work?
Dave, we can't hear you.
Dave, you're on mute.
Now you're on mute again. Click it off again.
That? There you go.
There you go.
I can put a lot of the numbers together on the material costs. Did I lose you?
Yep. No, we can hear you.
Oh, we got you.
And what I'll do is I can get an estimated cost for the paving. What I'll do is the company that's working with us, I'll just ask them to look at it, and I'll send them the drawings and ask them to give us a price for the bidding.
Okay.
For, even if it was this year, he'll do that for us.
Okay.
And then the labor cost. What's your thought about that, Jim? Are we just going to include this in the normal DPW project and pay the cost to mitigate as the additional expense, or how do you intend to propose to handle that?
I would not ask for and that's not up to me, that's up to the town administrator and actually the select board to approve that, but I don't think Dave, myself, had any intention on asking for, my or his hourly rate, or even the staff's hourly rate. I mean, if it goes over an overtime issue, like if we have to bring somebody in on a Saturday or Sunday, then we may ask for that, for that. But if we get the summer help and we can, use them to do the general grunt work of getting stuff done along with a couple of the staff members, then, I think that was our intent from the beginning. And I believe it was the select board, Jim McCaffrey can speak, to that also, but I don't see any reason for us to, and I don't even know if we could actually double dip it, to, with prevailing wage and stuff like that. So, that might be a town council question too.
Why would we want to do that? I mean,
That's why I didn't want to even bring it up. That's why I would say that it would just be work that we're performing, for the general DPW, staff
right.
on a daily basis.
Could I just ask, though, that we try to keep some kind of time records there?
Absolutely.
Again, 2/3 of the work, is really attributable to the enterprises. So I think we just need to keep track of it. That's all.
Yeah, I have everything we've done, I have time for, and materials.
Perfect.
So we will, once we get started with the construction, and Dave, you're going to have to do some of this on your own in phase one, but
yep.
When the general contractor is on site, we will have a clerk of the works who will be monitoring labor and materials on a daily basis.
Okay.
We don't need a OPM for this project.
We do, and it's going to be a combination of Dave and probably myself.
Oh, okay.
Dave, do you have a construction license or something like that?
Yes, I do.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, Wayne, what kind of license do you have?
I have a license to fly.
Millis, we'll give him a badge, a Millis badge.
I'm a subordinate of Mr. Ramachi. All right.
Wayne, can you hear me?
I can, John.
Just, is there anything or any thought as to winter conditions, or does that just, when it comes up, we deal with it at the time?
You're referring to general conditions or what, John?
Winter conditions.
Oh, winter conditions. I'm sorry. No, there should be that should be part of the general contractor's cost, and he should identify those.
Okay.
That's right.
You agree, Robert?
I do, yeah. They'll have to put together their own critical path schedule, and starting a project in September, they'll know winter is coming, and those things that are weather, the main cost is going to be in temporary heat of the interior space so that they can continue on after the building has been closed in to do the mechanical and electrical plumbing work. They'll need a little bit of heat in the building. I think that'll be your primary winter condition cost. I think most of the work in the ground will be complete before deep freeze sets in. So,
All right, but let me ask you this. So I hear you in relation to the staff building because that's a stick wood frame building.
Yep.
And they'll be able to proceed as soon as the foundations are up and continue with that. But a project that's starting on 9/1 that is a steel frame is the steel. What kind of schedule are we allowing for getting steel on site?
They're all standard sections, standard bar joists. So, one of the first things that we'll see at the start of construction will be the submittals, steel shop drawings. Once those are approved, the steel will probably be sitting around site waiting for the concrete to get placed for the foundation walls. And that can be erected through winter. There's no hardship in erecting steel in December, January. Happens all the time.
Now, is this going to be domestic steel or is it going to come from, are we going to have there's no foreign embargo or what's the word I'm looking for?
Trade war.
Yeah. Are we going to be, where do we think the steel is going to be domestic?
I would think it's probably steel that's already been made and is in a warehouse somewhere. It's not going to be, as I said, it's off the shelf stuff.
All right.
We don't have a Buy America provision in the specifications for anything. If you think we should do that before we go to bid. But
No, I just don't want to pay the, God, exactly. I don't want to pay a tariff for foreign steel.
right.
And the school that we just finished, all the steel came from Canada, which is why I asked them. They were all shapes fabricated in Canada, and luckily we got it all in before any of that really heated up. So I wasn't sure if that would affect this project or not.
It's hard for me to say, really.
Okay. So you're comfortable with the schedule then, assuming, looking for a 9/1 start?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot to do collectively here before we have a contractor in terms of getting through peer review and advertising, bidding, and awarding. I'd say the town of Millis is really in the driver's seat with a few of those steps. But it seems very comfortable to do that, from here where we are in the middle of June through the remainder of summer.
All right. Well, we will keep up our end of the bargain. We'll work with the Conservation Commission. We'll get the go ahead. We'll start doing the site work in earnest in phase 1, and then we'll start proceeding with. We'll do that while we get our peer review, and then we'll work on getting the documents out on the street for bidding.
Great.
You had 4 weeks for bidding in there, and I don't know, does that feel right for a project this size? Sorry, you had 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, we have several filed sub bids.
Okay.
Which requires 2 weeks. So I was thinking 4 weeks for filed sub bid advertising, and then the general bids would follow 2 weeks later.
Okay.
And we could try to crunch that down, but and I wouldn't be opposed to doing that.
Yeah, I didn't know if, pre-advertising when it's going to hit, maybe we'll be able to grab a week or 2 out of that. I don't know. But you have more experience with bidding
There's tabbouleh, bubba, and bread in there.
Yeah, just want a big salad.
Okay, all
So,
right,
Pat,
I'm gonna go back
you know,
to,
based on past experience, a lot of these public bidding contractors are wrapping up school projects for, you know, a September 1st, you know, or end of August start. I'm not sure when schools are going to open this fall. But I don't know what, you know, even if we're getting a contractor here that would even be, you know, if we'd be affected by all that work. It just seems like in the middle of summer things seem to go a little slower.
Yeah. No, and I was just thinking, you know, as Robert points out, starting to work on September 1st, you just want to make sure you get everything you need to on the ground before.
Right.
So a week or 2 weeks, wherever you can grab it early, you know, always helps. So.
I agree with that. So yeah, certainly if we can do it, if we can move this whole schedule up, that would certainly be to our benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be to your benefit, and it would be, I'd be all in favor of that, because those would be good weeks to grab, to have an extra few weeks at the beginning of, or at the end, tail end of August.
Wayne, is Compass already on board to do the peer review? I know you spoke to him, right?
I've spoken to them. They've agreed not to exceed $5,000. They've got a guy who is familiar with this DPW type construction on site. He's an architect who's available. They quoted me his hourly rate, so it's going to be a not to exceed. Tim Bonfatti thought probably 2 weeks to get it all done. So I will call him in the morning. I will forward him the documents that now we have them electronically. And I guess the other thing I would need, Jim McKay, we were just talking about before we all got on, if we have a sample town contract to forward with that for Compass, then we can send it to him all at once.
Wayne, this is part of the project, right?
Absolutely.
So it's not something that requires us to go through the rigmarole of selectmen and whatnot. We can hopefully move more expeditiously because of the dollar amount.
Well, it is a contract with another party,
Okay.
but it is part of the $3.9 million project. But Jim, you raise a good point. We have not gone to the select board asking them for authority to approve contracts like we did with the Clyde Brown School. And we in order to efficiently manage the timing and the project, I think we need to have the same authority to do that. So
one day we'll actually fix the bylaw.
why would we do that? All the buildings will be built by then.
Just not in time, right?
So maybe we can get on the select board agenda, get that item on to get PBC authority for this project.
Okay. I can be pretty confident that I have the ability to get it on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good, great. Well, what other detail for us to take care of?
Wayne, what is or Robert, this timeline tells me it's going to be done when? Because people ask.
Yes, the building should be complete about this time next year, mid-June.
So summer of 21.
Correct.
Okay.
Pete.
Some site work
Pete's computer
continues.
is a 2-year-old.
Final
Windows
page.
10, it's got some issue with a corrupted file. You could call Pete in the morning before you go buy something. He said, you sure you wouldn't mind? I said,
I would say, Jim, third quarter of 2021.
Okay. Good, thanks.
Robert,
Yes.
Are there any points in the critical path where we're in danger of losing time?
Well, foundations, utility, trenching, site work, digging in the dirt can always take longer than one imagined. And it can be due to weather, it can be due to unforeseen stuff in the ground. I don't expect with this site to run into anything more than sand, but you know, sometimes there are, it's happened, unsurveyed, unmarked electrical lines running right through the middle of a site and somebody hits one.
We are well familiar with that, Robert.
Yeah.
We found all kinds of things in the ground buried by prior residents of Millis when we did our police station and
Yeah.
in our library. Yep. And we may very well find a few surprises here.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it's not an Indian burial ground or something that.
Don't say that. God, don't say that.
Well, you know, you're underground, so that is, I think, where the most amount of mystery in the schedule lies. And even though Millis is a long settled place, I don't think the DPW site is where you're going to find, you know,
Artifacts.
on Main Street.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah. And none of our equipment is long lead time. It's the heating, the ventilation equipment. That's all pretty standard.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So there are no long lead times for any of that stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if you can visualize this, I think that the site work will be very busy for a long period of time, seeming to take forever. And then suddenly the frame will be up, like over a week, you'll drive by and the whole thing will be framed up and you go, wow, that was fast. And then it gets really slow again as they start to do the building envelope, the roofs and the walls and the windows. And then it'll look complete to you. You'll wonder, why are they not done yet? Because they're inside working on wiring and ductwork and plumbing and stuff that you don't see anybody really working. You don't see bulldozers moving around anymore. But you know, that's the pace and pulse of a typical construction project. And you know, in the larger scale of things, this is comparable to building a Jiffy Lube and a dock in the box kind of, you know, it's two fairly simple, fairly small projects on a fairly flat site. I think it will attract a lot of builders and it'll be perceived as a pretty straightforward thing.
Good. Yeah, Diane, this will be a fraction, half of the size and duration of the police station.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. I just wanted to hear from Robert if he thought there were some obstacles in there that we haven't discussed, and I can't think of anything.
Well, it's just, I agree. It's what we don't know that's in the ground.
Yep.
It's what we don't know. That's the.
Yeah, always is.
It'll have a hard time being worse than the police station.
Agreed.
There must be some stories there that maybe we'll share.
Yeah, we'll be happy to fill you in later.
It wasn't artifacts either.
No. Well, in a way.
The library was no picnic either.
No,
Exactly.
it wasn't.
Yeah, that's not over yet. We're still
Still the MCP.
still getting. We have to start testing the Donovan property.
Oh, right. Yeah. Jeez.
So I know on the agenda we have a review of the 100%. You know, it's 101 drawings and it's 929 pages of specifications and contracts. I don't think we should be attempting to review that tonight, but I welcome comments from all of you if you download the documents and spin through them, if you have any questions.
I do not. I don't know if any of the other committee have. I just was able to get to look at them about 15 minutes before this meeting started, so I've not even had a chance to peruse them. Jim McKay, have you had a chance to look at all?
I have, and if we could just open the drawings on the first page, and maybe, Robert, we can go over what we discussed of changing some of the design to that plan.
Yep, let me minimize a few things here. Oops.
What happened to David? I lost him on my screen.
Did we lose David?
He's there.
No, it's still there.
Move you all.
Ah, there you are.
All right.
You know, that first page.
The very first page?
Yeah.
The cover sheet.
Yeah, the cover sheet.
All
Because
right.
that's where we had some concerns. I think if everybody's driven by the DPW going to the transfer station, they'll notice that we've moved the buses.
Right.
And they're in their home. And this first, we talked about eliminating that first row of parking spaces along with the that medium strip at the end of the parking spaces right there, correct?
Yeah.
So it'll give a little bit more room for the bus drivers to move in and out with the buses. And the DPW staff will be parked. The 3 buses in the back will be, they don't need those spaces. So we're going to line the whole back of the building with spaces for the DPW staff.
Yeah.
So that's the only change that the only big change.
Yeah, I mean, we did not pick it up on the cover sheet, but I think that,
It's changed, it is, I think, changed further in here somewhere.
yeah, let me,
Jim, are you gonna need any visitors spaces for like people picking up permits and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that, where the bus drivers, they were only supposed to be there for maybe 4 hours. They just like to hang around there, but,
Okay.
so that would be the spaces.
Okay.
so Jim, this is the area, it's on utility plan phase 2. We were on the phone with Emmanuel, and he said he was going to take care of that.
Yep.
Let me check my email to see if he sent me updated drawings. I'll do that after this meeting.
All right, then, Robert, why don't you confirm that before I send anything to Compass? So if we need to just make that one change, just let me know.
Yep.
Jim, does it, in looking at the plan, is there enough space for their buses there?
Yes.
But are they, I guess what I'm struggling with a little bit is some talk about the fact that the fleet will not be adequate if in fact we end up with 6 days of school and split sessions. I mean, it's all quite speculative, but is that pretty much a capacity then for the buses that we can store?
That is a capacity, absolutely.
But they have right now. So and I'm not saying they will, but I mean, there's a possibility they're going to have to find a different place to put them.
And I think they're actually looking at that right now, but that's
Yeah.
what Terry had explained to me, that they're actually still looking right now, but we're still going to design it with the 10 spaces.
Yeah.
They're 10 buses.
Okay, thank you.
This PDF is also a little fuzzier than I thought. I'm
Bless you.
a link in the morning as well to make sure that you get a clear PDF to review. If you download, I'm not sure why these are as fuzzy as they are. It's hard to read the print. There's always something.
Are they give them over at 100%?
you know,
Well, whatever.
they're 35,000 megabytes, so there should be a high level of clarity with these, but I'm not satisfied with the legibility of the fine print. I'll check into that as well before we go to send them to Compass.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's too fuzzy. Sorry about that.
And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to show everybody, you know, what the only discussion we had.
All right. So with that one change, how does the committee feel about proceeding with the project at 100%?
Yeah, Wayne, the only question I have is, I mean, obviously from a functionality perspective, I assume, Jim, you guys have taken a look at that. You're comfortable with the layout of the office building and of the maintenance building and the wash building. And as long as you guys are comfortable with it, I mean, obviously with Compass doing the peer review, they're going to pick up if there are any, questions that they would have, they're going to be able to review them in more detail than we would. So as long as Jim and his team is okay with it and Compass is going to take a detailed look at it, I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Well,
Wayne, could I ask a question? It relates to the, to environmental drive there. And of course, environmental drive sort of bleeds into the lot.
Right.
And needless to say, the condition of the road and the parking area are in sad shape. This project will do what to the drive? Anything? I mean, that road's in rough condition. Join the club, but if I look at this picture here, where will the actual project, I'll call it either revising cleaning up the blacktop or putting new blacktop down, where does that start and where does it end?
I believe it's all along that dash line.
Dash line is the limit of the scope. Yeah.
So the road remains in its pristine state. Okay.
So Jim, we've got a couple of options. Frankly, this is ground we've already plowed with the Clyde Brown project.
Yeah.
If we have money left over, and since the town is self-performing or overseeing the actual paving to the extent that we wanted to spend money on that area, we would have the ability to increase the scope.
Okay.
On the other hand, I'm not sure what your thought would be about whether this should go in with all of the other paving in town and put it in a priority with the capital asset committee.
Well, I guess my feeling is that we have done and continue to do roads analysis based on condition and use. One might argue that this is a high use road and there ought to be prioritized. But nobody lives along roads, so it's going to get less priority, I would think. So long story short is if there's an opportunity without going beyond the budget to do a little bit here, that might be helpful. I don't know how you feel about it, Jim, but that road's in, and we're going to beat the living daylights out of the site, so it's not going to get any better.
Well, I think the easy answer is if there's money at the end, we can consider it, at that time.
Yeah, at least up to the edge of the property there. Again, Jim, I don't know how you feel about it, but.
Yep. No, I definitely, Water Street is actually a public road. When we
Okay.
get into environmental drive, it's private. So it can't be used under the Chapter 90 funding project. So it would be looked at just like the municipal parking lot or the, the town hall parking lot, which is in total disrepair also.
Right.
So if Chapter 90 funding could do which it did, if we remember back about 10, 12 years ago, we paved Water Street from almost right to where you're talking about, Jim.
Yeah.
Almost right to that entrance as you come over where the sewer grinder station is. So if there's funding left over, absolutely, I think that's the only way we could look at it, unless we go for an appropriation.
All right.
And I think we'd only be talking about the cost to resurface, not to do
That's correct.
re-engineering and.
Right.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
no.
sure. That would be a good problem to have. Let's hope that's the case at, a year from now.
Yeah, I'm just raising it as let's put on a footnote somewhere and don't forget about it.
Sure.
Dave won't let you.
We will find a way to spend the money.
I'm sure.
Okay. John Larkin,
Yes.
any concerns?
No, nothing in particular, Wayne. I mean, I don't see a huge difference between the last meeting and this. My only question was about winter conditions and being a winter project. I just expect nothing good to happen in the wintertime, just the way it is. And as far as groundwork goes, you already mentioned that before. You know what happens when we assume, and if we assume there's no problems with the groundwork, you're probably going to be disappointed. If everything goes smooth, it's a pleasant surprise.
Right. Well, different from the other projects where we've run into trouble, we are doing a fair amount of that work ourselves now.
Yeah, I hear you.
So we have the ability to see it and deal with it.
And I'm aware of some of the issues you had before.
Right.
And hopefully nothing like that, even remotely close to that, happens.
Yep. Let's all hope. All right. Pat, what do you think?
I'm good.
Okay. Diane?
Yeah, me too. Since we've been digging into this for so long, I feel a lot more confident.
Okay. And how about our future residents, Dave and Jim? Dave, what do you think?
Well-
Can't hear you. Can't hear you, Dave.
Now you're on. Now you're on.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Good.
Yeah, and I think after looking at this, I think this is the best possible thing, that's suited for us. Millis is not going to have, I won't be long-winded like last night, but this is a perfect site for us. I mean, I think this is going to be good for ever, however long, the DPW is around. We could have built something a lot bigger and a lot more expensive, but I think we're building within our means, and I think it's going to be suitable for a long time to come.
Good. Good. Well, that's what we want to hear from the future tenants. If you're concerned about it at this stage, Pat, I think that was your question, right? How's this going to work and flow and meet the future needs, right?
Mhm.
Wayne, I think the best thing that we're doing is keeping that large building as because it can be used for multiple different things also, but it's the idea of keeping the structure, that's what it was built and meant for. And I think that's what's going to save us for the long haul.
It took us a long time to come to that conclusion.
Sure did.
But-
But that was the magic trick, though, wasn't it?
It was. It certainly was. So I'm glad. I agree with you. I'm glad everybody else feels good about it. So good. All right. So then let's proceed. I don't think we need to vote on any of that. I think we know what we need to do in the short term. Jim, you and I have got a couple of things to do. We need to get to the Conservation Commission. We need to get to Compass. Dave, you need to start moving dirt around.
Yep.
He'll start tomorrow morning. He'll go out tonight and start it.
Daylight out there.
Okay. Robert, you happy?
I am. I'm pleased that you're energetic to get going. I am myself. I want to. Kind of tired of the drawing phase.
Let's build this thing.
Isn't that the most creative part?
I've always liked construction. I think it's more fun even than the drawing part.
All right, good. All right. All we need to do, I think, is do some ministerial things. We've got some bills to pay and some minutes to approve. So, Robert, I think we can let you go unless anybody's got some other questions or issues that we want to talk about where we need Robert. And then we can wrap this up.
All right, I will take my leave. Thank you all very much.
Robert, thank you. We will be in
Robert.
touch.
Be in touch soon. Thanks.
Great, good.
All right, me and Dave can leave also, right? We can, Dave's line painting, so his crew's out there.
We don't need Dave.
All right.
Well, let me just say, the lines look really good.
All right.
It's
Thank
nice to see them again.
you. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, Dave.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Dave.
Bye.
And so, Jim, we need to just touch base in the morning tomorrow.
Yep.
And get all this stuff together. Keep things moving.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jim Petro first thing in the morning, and I'll see where he's going with and what his intentions are.
Good.
Bring him a Dunkin' Donuts coffee and.
The way to his heart.
Yep.
Tell him,
Is this, Wayne, is this the part of the project where we talk about naming rights?
naming. Yeah. What?
If anybody wants to donate $1 million,
Yeah.
we'll name the building after them.
Well, good luck with that.
Oh,
I mean, I didn't want to get into a thing like the heating stuff. I'm sure Babfob will do the heating for us. But I mean, that's something down the.
yeah. Yep, you're right. Diane knows them very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kim, we've got some bills to pay, or is it just the one?
We just have the one.
Can you put that up on the screen?
Yes. Yes. So this is the Taylor and Burns for $11,724.
And this is to bring the design phase to 100%.
Right.
And this is basic service. It's not that into that $70,000. And he's not charged anything in this phase against that $70,000.
Excellent.
So I think this is appropriate. That's where we're at. He's not front loading it here. So I think this makes sense. If anybody'd like to make a motion, I'd like to hear it.
Move to approve for payment this invoice in the amount of $11,724 from Taylor and Burns.
Second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded by roll call. Diane, how do you vote?
Aye.
John Larkin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pat Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Wayne Klockow votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Kim, do we have minutes to approve?
We do. We have minutes from May 21st.
I make a motion that we approve the May 21st meeting minutes as submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. John Larkin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pat Sheehan, how do you vote? Diane Germain, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Wayne Klockow votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. I think that concludes the scheduled business as far as the DPW project. I want to raise something to the committee regarding the senior center project.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Good night, Jim.
Jim.
Night, Jim.
Mike Gazinski advised me that the town received funding for that study for the $35,000 from the state. He's conferred with his contacts there that the fiscal year ends at the end of this month. And so he's asked me to ask Abacus to submit a bill for the total job and I've asked them to do that. Kim, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
He was going to, maybe he just sent it to me, but since I can't access that .gov file, maybe it's sitting in my inbox, but we're going to need to take action on that. So, and maybe it's just, I'll do a roll call, and we'll approve it. But obviously they'll keep working well into November.
Okay, so do I need to get in touch with Mike to see if he sent that to you? You think he might have sent it?
I think David Pollock from Abacus may have sent it directly to me.
Okay.
But I would have thought that he would have sent it. I thought he was sending those to maybe Mike and to you and everybody.
Yeah, I had asked him to in the past, but
Yeah. I can call him again tomorrow and ask him if he sent it and ask him to resend it. So I just want to alert.
We're just approving it up to the contract amount of $35,000.
Right. They have obviously haven't spent it all, and they're, and we'll have to have some kind of caveat that they will have to incur it. Whether or not we pay it at this time is I'm not sure that that's necessary, but I think we need to have it billed and approved for the state to consider it as a liability.
Okay.
Jim McCaffrey, do you have any comments on that?
No, as far as I know, yeah, I mean, we just have to get it approved because it's, some of this funding is sometimes use it or lose it. So
Yeah.
Let's use it.
Right. Okay. So that's all I have.
Do you
Well, Wayne,
wanna-
do you think it's appropriate for the PBC to vote to approve it? Or do you think that's not necessary?
I think it's probably, from an abundance of caution, I think it's better to approve it.
Yeah, I think so too, because we only have a week to go. And
Right.
if you guys approve it, then I'm sure we can submit it for payment. I'll check with them tomorrow too, but
So let me make sure I'm clear. Are you suggesting that we approve it now?
yes, because you're not going to meet before June 30th again, unless you really want to.
Kim,
So-
do you have the prior bill? I think they billed a third, is my recollection. Is there a way to pull that up quickly?
let me see if I can find that. Hold on one second.
It wasn't that long ago, was it, Wayne?
No.
That's when they discovered they didn't have the right.
So it was,
documents.
have they only billed us? I'm trying to think if I have an invoice for 10,500.
And that should be like 30%, 10,500.
Yep.
So who can do the math? 35,000 minus 10,500.
I didn't know there was going to be math today.
24,500.
Right.
Yeah. So
Can we have Compass peer review that, please?
all right. I will make a motion that we approve the additional funding, the additional invoice by Abacus Architects and Planners of $24,500 to bring us to the total contract price of $35,000 for the senior center feasibility study.
Second,
Any discussion? Pat Sheehan, how do you vote?
Aye.
John Larkin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Diane Germain, how do you vote?
aye,
And Wayne Clocko votes aye. Motion carries unanimously.
great.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I should hold, when I do get it though, I'll hold on to it, right? Is that?
No, you should forward it to accounting and then they can decide what they need to do with the state to either, I don't know if they're going to pay it and then get reimbursed or whatever, but
And you'll have to send out to get us to email.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the last run is that counts. I think it's the second week of July, but let's just be sure.
Mike led me to believe that as long as the invoice was dated in June, that we could
Yeah.
pay it later.
Yeah.
Because it's not,
That's what he told me.
Okay. So make sure so you think they've sent something, you just have to find it.
I asked him to send it this morning. He said he would send it
Okay.
within the hour, but my computer's down, and so I can't confirm that.
All right. But we should be okay. We've got a week or two, so.
Yeah, all right. We'll figure it out. All right. Any other business we need to consider? All right.
Get you a new computer.
I need to get myself a new computer. I definitely do. It's not real easy, and nobody's shipping anything. And like, I've ordered 10 things and nothing's coming. And all I do is stare at the mailbox, and nobody
So
ever shows up.
Call here early, okay?
Because you're retired.
Wayne,
You
I can have half the Amazon packages that come here sent to your house.
Oh, thank you. It's not what I'm looking for, but I appreciate it. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank
thank
you.
you. Have a good
Right.
night.
Have a
Have a
good
good night.
Night.
All right, take care.
Good night now.
Bye.